Who's to say you weren't going to do a zigzag when you're driving yourself? Don't like freak out about this park thing. Watch what happens when I press it when I'm driving. Car has to watch a ton of different things here as it's figuring itself out. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of tips to do with navigating, and here's why it's a perfect situation to do this. I am heading down to Best Buy to buy a new toy that you guys will see later on in the channel. But on that drive, we're going to be going on this challenge of a 20-mile drive here on the Full Self-Drive Beta 10.3.1. And again, we're going to be talking about tips for navigating while we're on our way there. The car is using navigation, so we're going to talk about some things you need to know, some little tips and tricks. And the first thing I want to know is how this car is going to handle this big semi here next to me, and it's going to go ahead. Okay, so a couple of things to kind of set up this drive here. On my screen here, you see I got a couple things going on. The blue right here signifies that my car is in autopilot, okay? Meaning auto steer is on, the car is gonna be steering for me like this back and forth, keeping me in the lines, as well as using the accelerator and all that. So that's all moving on. If at any time you see that blue steering wheel go away and just this, my max right there is lit up blue, that means that adaptive cruise control is on and the auto steering went off. So it's just one of them at that point. We're going to be doing a bit of jumping around as we go down the road, so don't worry about where I am in terms of the map. At the very end, if you want to watch it, I will put some music on and finish this drive all recorded for you guys. But right now, we're going to be talking about some of these tips. So let's start from scratch here. Now, if you're not navigating anywhere, and let's say that I'm just driving along and I want to go to Best Buy as I'm going right now, there's a couple ways to do this. There's a safer way, and then there's a less safer way. One way you can do this is you can come up here, click on navigation, just tap on it, and then you can type in Best Buy, okay? I could type in Best, but you gotta spell it right. So Best Buy, okay, I can tap on it right there, and it's just gonna go right to it. I already had it in there from when I did it earlier, so you can tap on recents, or you can just type the whole thing out. Now, the most common way of doing this, and the safest way of doing it, is using voice commands, and you can just press once on the right scroll wheel here. Don't hold, just press once, locate Best Buy. Now, you can see here that I even messed up and I hit press 1, locate Best Buy on here, but it still was able to determine what I said. And you can see the one I want. So I'm going to press on the top one there, and it's going to take me there. Now, I could also have said, navigate me to the closest Best Buy, navigate me to Best Buy, and it'll pull it up a bunch of different ways. So now that I've done that, it's pulling up a whole list. And what it will do until it senses you moving is it will just give you a list of all your instructions, and then shortly after that, it will actually start navigating you and make it so that it's going to actually guide you. Now, once you're in the navigation panel and it's going, and for me, I'm going to be going straight here, so I just want to check everything's good. What happens is you've got a couple things going on. If you've paid for the Full Self-Drive Beta package, it doesn't matter if you're on the actual beta or not, like I am, but if you've just paid for it, you can make it so that the navigating autopilot is automatically turned on, where it basically means if you were to put this car, assuming you're not on the beta, onto the freeway or highway, it'll navigate from one highway to the next for you, doing on-ramps, off-ramps, and then changing lanes around cars. But if you didn't want that to be default, you can change that. To do that, you just go in here to your settings, go into autopilot right here, and well, we don't want to be in that lane, so it corrected. So it turned into the turn lane and then came back out into this main lane here. So what you do is you have like customized navigation on autopilot. So you can come in here and make a couple changes, and this one says enable at start of every trip. So that basically means anytime I type in a destination on here, what it's going to do is automatically put that on green so that it's going to navigate me. But if I didn't want that and I wanted to just stay in one lane and not have it go around cars or anything, I can just click that off anytime I want and then put it back on anytime I want. So it's just a preference thing. If you know you're going to be using the navigating autopilot portion of it, just make it so it's automatic on there, but you can always turn it on afterwards, even if you're not in park, if you need to. Now, also, in terms of just looking at everything here, you have a couple things going on. There's a little line here that shows that you can click and drag this down. So at any time you can pull this down, it's going to maximize the map if you're on the beta, and you can look through all your different turns coming up. Now, the first percentage it's going to show you here, like it says here, I'm going to arrive at 71% battery. And then the next one down shows you the round trip. So if you went back to where you started navigating, I'll be at 63%. So it shows you there and then round trip at the same time, which I think has always been a really cool thing. Now to get it back, you just slide your finger back up. My screen jumps out to full. Now if I don't want my screen to show such a big map here, I can just do something like pull up any old thing, like maybe it's music, maybe it's settings, anything. As long as it's down here, this is going to come back to its normal size. But on here, you're going to have a couple things going on. So you got your gearing. Now, if you want to make some quick changes like to audio, feedback, and stuff for navigating, you can come in here and click on the gear. The first option on there is automatic navigation. What that means is that when you get into your car, the car is going to look at two things. If it's in the morning time and you're at your home, or if you're at your home anytime, it's going to automatically ask you to navigate you to work. If you're at your office, which these are all destinations that you put in, I'll show you that in a minute, what it does is it navigates you back home. And so I'll show you how you set that up here. So if I cancel this, if I were to go to tap on this right here, you see home and work, you just program those. If they're not programmed, it'll say set address to add them in there, and then it's going to automatically navigate them in there. So if I were to click on this and pull down or pull over, like this, it would navigate me to home because I'm not at home. But if I was home, it would navigate me to work. Now the second thing that Navigate and Autopilot will do is, let's say that you've got an appointment in your calendar and you put an address in there. So a lot of times I'm heading out to clients' homes, and so I have them all stacked inside my calendar. Well, when I get in the car, when that is toggled to on, it'll automatically have that destination already ready to go, which is super cool when you're on the beta, because then the car just drives you to that house. It's pretty fun. The trip planner is a good one to always have on as well, because what that's going to do is automatically going to navigate you if you're not going to make it on the charge you have on the car at the time to a supercharger station, so that you don't have to try to remember and try to find one yourself. It'll automatically put it right in the route for you. It's really cool. And the next one down, online routing, basically what it's going to do is it's going to give you predictions and help you navigate around things like traffic and all this other stuff to build that in. It's kind of like what we're used to with Google Maps or Apple Maps, when it checks everything and then plans around what's happening out there, accidents, that sort of thing. And they give you a setting here where you can say, hey, reroute me if it saves me, 5 minutes or more. So that's a nice little thing to have on there. Then of course you can avoid ferries, tolls, and HOV lanes if you want. That was interesting right there. If you guys noticed that, there was a pile of dirt on the road in the middle of the intersection, and the full self-driving beta computer just swerved around to avoid it. That's actually pretty awesome. Now, one thing that you'll notice is when you pull something up on your screen over here and it's covering the map, it's going to put the next turn right up here above your visualizations on the left side, which is really cool. So let's say that I had a full screen of music up. Well, you can still see where your next turn is going to be. But if I pulled it all the way down, it'll go away. So it's, you can see the map. So that's kind of a nice little feature right there. Now, if you want to lock in your north so the map's not always turning to keep, what's ahead of you, you can click here on that Find Destination button right there, and it's going to zoom out and show you the entire overview of your drive, as well as give you a list of all your drives that are coming up, or I guess turns coming up, which is kind of a nice thing. And also, when you get closer to your turn on this, it'll zoom in as well. It's just right now we got a pretty long distance until our next turn, so it's zoomed out. And if at any time you want to get back to that, you just tap it again and it's going to pull you right back there. Except this time it'll put you as north as front, so it'll always keep north ahead of you. If you tap it one more time, then it's going to pivot like you're used to doing on your phone apps that you're used to navigating on. So you get 3 different options there for that. Just tapping on it changes it. And then if you tap anywhere on the map down here, you're going to get other options like your zoom controls. You're going to get show satellite view if you pay for the subscription. You can click on this here and it's going to show you traffic. And then the bottom down here is going to say show me where all the superchargers are. So now you can also view your navigation settings by coming down in here to your actual settings panel and going to navigation. That's another way to do it. You have the same things there, but you don't have to do it there. You can just do it by tapping on the gear symbol on the other one. Now the rain is really starting to pick up here on this drive, and it looks like we very easily could lose the Navigate and Autopilot, which is the next topic, is that the cameras are what's used to do all of this. And so if at any time the car senses that it can't see the road and lines clearly, it's not going to navigate for you. But what's interesting about that is it will still change lanes for you, just not automatically. Now with the beta in 10.3.1, it is very good at bad weather. I mean, this kind of weather would have never done it on before I got the beta. So it's able to handle a lot more, especially in the Pacific Northwest, like we've been dealing with there. But if that does happen, you don't be surprised, and all you have to do is just wait. When the weather clears up a bit, it'll automatically turn back on to your Navigate and Autopilot, and the map then will be following. So then let's talk about the difference between the Navigate and Autopilot and the not having autopilot in terms of how navigation factors into that. So assuming then that you have, let's say, the same vehicle as me, the Beta, you have all the bells and whistles, you paid for the full self-drive subscription, whatever. If you just turn on regular autopilot, you're not telling the car that there is a destination we're going to. You're just telling the car, keep me in the lines and just keep me going straight until you can't go straight anymore. But when you put an address into your navigation, now the car knows where it's supposed to end up. That's why it's called navigate on autopilot, because now it's navigating somewhere. And if you have the Beta, or even if you don't have the Beta, if you have just paid for full self-drive, then it's going to do everything that the package you're currently on is able to do to get you to that location. And then it'll let you know when you need to take over to do it. So far on this drive that we've been on, it shows that we have what? 9.5 miles left. So we've gone 10 miles right now on Navigate on Autopilot, or the full self-drive Beta, and we have not one time disengaged autopilot. The car has driven 100% of this the whole time. I've not done anything other than talk to you guys, watch the road, and make some observations. Now in your autopilot settings, which is all kind of part of navigating, you come down to here and there are some things you can change while you're driving, other things you have to actually be in park to change, which, by the way, don't freak out about this park thing. Watch what happens when I press it when I'm driving. Okay, it just terminates autopilot. It doesn't do anything. And if I press it again, it says emergency brake. What did it say? Emergency brake applied. It doesn't do anything. You can't do anything about that. And same thing with putting it in reverse. You can't do that. You can't shift gears while you're driving. So don't worry about bumping something while you're going down the road. It's pretty safe in terms of all of that. Put it back in autopilot here. Now on your screen, there are some things you can adjust, like I was saying, when you're not in park. First of all, auto steer, okay, and navigate on autopilot can be both turned off and on while you're moving down the road. You can customize your navigate and autopilot settings. You can make it enable on the trip. You can disable, speed-based lane changes on your trip. You can change your exit passing lane, require lane change confirmation, and lane change notification. These are all parts of the system that you can change while you're moving. As you can see, they're not grayed out here. And we'll go through each of those another time to see just really what there actually are. And we have other tutorials that I've done previously on the channel if you want to spend more time with it. But you can take a look at there and to see how I have my settings on. And I've experimented with this stuff a lot. I like Mad Max mode because Mad Max the most for lane change, because it just helps me to keep my speed up. If I have it even down here on average, what I find is that it will keep me behind a car and drop 4 to 5 miles per hour off the time before it'll change lanes around the car. And if I'm not feeling like I want to do that, then I keep it on Mad Max, which is almost always. Now see that right there? That is the camera, the rear view mirror camera in action right there. It just told me keep my eyes on the road because I was looking at my settings panel and it didn't like that. It got mad at me. So, that's really cool that it's working like that, because that just means that sooner than later we're going to be able to not have to have our hands on the wheel, as the camera can tell if we're paying attention or not just from applying torque to the wheel itself. And then anything on my screen here that you can see is things you can adjust while the car is actually moving, such as full self-drive Beta profile. I have mine on average, and that's just talking about the actual full self-drive Beta, like the one that drives in the city streets. So the car sees it needs to make a turn. It's going to make the turn right in the middle of the intersection, which is not something that we're really supposed to do, but the car handled it just fine. So that's okay. And it's getting ready to make a turn up here. And this is something that I've been really hoping that the car gets better at, is getting itself into proper lane to make a turn, because a lot of times it won't. It'll actually change lanes within like a half mile of the turn out of the lane. Like, what's it doing there? So watching this closely through here, and what I want to see as I come up to getting on this main interchange here, going onto the 405, is that it stays in this lane. It's super important it does. Now the car is slowed down for this corner, and it's keeping itself really well in the lane. The weather has basically stopped. It's just overcast at this point, so the car is not going to have any issue in terms of weather making this challenge and happening. So what's coming up here is going to be a little bit tricky, because there's an overpass, and that overpass, we got to go under it, and then we got to turn left right next to it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the car actually achieves this. All right, so we made it through one of the lights, and so we've got a couple stacked up here. I mean, the car has to watch a ton of different things here as it's figuring itself out. And Once again, you can see I just pulled my music information bar down so that it gives the screen full view here, so you guys can really see what the car is trying to work out. I'll tilt my screen that way a little bit and move this over. By the way, this is an incredibly awesome MagSafe charger that I'm using right here. Okay, look at this. Getting into the left lane. We haven't turned our blinker on yet. There it goes. All right, very good. Very, very good. Okay, so let's miss this big barrier there. Perfect. Now we're going to be working with other cars here. So the car slows down to a nice speed. We are in the carpool lane though, and I shouldn't be. So we got to see what the car is going to do here. So it's going to keep me in the carpool lane, which I should not be in the carpool lane. I have not used any help with this yet. It's figuring it out on its own, and I guess we're going to stay in the carpool lane. All right, we're braking here. We don't need to be braking here. Why are we, okay, it's turning on its blinker finally. All right, which lane is it gonna get into here? Good. Okay, so now we need to get over in this far right lane. You can see here on the navigation that it is planning on doing that. Excellent, excellent. Man, this is just so fantastic, man. I mean, I know there's a lot of hate out there on the beta. A lot of people posting videos as if they thought they're jumping right into a perfectly ready to go, fully operational autonomous vehicle, and they're shocked about it. I do not get how people can be shocked that it's not ready. It's so stupid. Anyway, it is, when you drive like this and you're on the beta, and you guys have seen this drive, I mean, this drive's been a very long drive. This video's been a long video, and the car's done the whole thing. It hasn't one time messed up, other than a couple zigzags it does awkwardly, but who's to say you weren't gonna do a zigzag when you're driving yourself? So, you know, it's doing great. I mean, look at what's coming up here. We got roads everywhere. It's got to figure all this situation out. And, you know, it's not brake checking or anything like that. It's not acting like it has any issue with this. And, you know, a little over half a mile, it does need to be in the left lane. So that'll be one of the last checks. And we're just going to see how far this car will go. And clearly it shouldn't have gotten over because that's a turn-only lane. And we're, again, underneath a bridge, overpass. And, man, it's just working so good. Okay, so right after this big barricade, see, it needed to get over right there, but it's gonna miss it because it didn't get behind the line of cars. See what it did there? But is it gonna figure it out? No, it's not. So I'm gonna take over right here, and that was really kind of freaking crazy, to be honest. The car went from far left to far right, and then it didn't know what to do. And see, that's something that I hope, I mean, that we'll for sure see in future betas, is that the car is gonna have to look at everything and say, look, I've got to be in that lane on the left, but there's already cars lining up in it, so I need to get into it much sooner than I would normally get into it if it was an open lane. That's something the beta is incapable of doing right now. It only gets in at whatever it's programmed to get in at, which is, I don't know, 50 feet or something like that from the turn. But like that, there was 3 cars there, and it needed to get in way behind it. So that's fine. We're going to actually send that information back. So it's just got to learn how to do that, and the programmers will get to that eventually. And so we all need to just recognize where it's at, send the information in, and be a part of the solution. So I hope you guys learned a little bit, and if you watched the full video to the end of the drive, you know, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.